and gentlemen, this is Cynthia the Audio Bell. At the Texas Audio Roundup, I interviewed Wendell Diller of Magnepan, Dan Laufman of Emotiva, and Jason Stoddard of Shit Audio. Time ran a little short on the first day for the Magnepan interview, so Wendell and I had to finish on day 2. My first interview with Wendell at the show was the first of my videos at the event, and he and I were both getting warmed up to the camera. This is before we had the idea to set up a second camera for dual camera interviews, which you will see when the day 2 videos are edited and posted. In this video, Wendell talks about his ultra-wideband woofer prototype, which you will hear more about in a few other videos I'll be posting from the event. Remember, if you like these videos, please hit the like button, subscribe, turn on bell notifications, and in the description of the video is a link to both my Patreon and Amazon affiliate accounts should you wish to help support the channel. Hope you guys enjoyed the video.
Heard what? Sigh. You mean the sigh?
Yeah, it's the sigh. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Cynthia the Audio Bell. I am here with my adopted grandfather, Wendell Diller of Magnepan. He is very nervous.
Well, who else is nervous?
We're both trying to warm up right now. I had a few questions I wanted to ask him, but I just kind of wanted to do a one-on-one discussion with him, really, to kind of talk about the company, to talk about where he's going with things. He had come to my house and showed a speaker prototype that he's working on that we're going to talk about a little bit later. He is showing off the LRS Plus speakers here at the Austin, Texas Audio Roundup, which is a new type of audio show, which is specifically targeting affordable audio products, hoping to get more of the younger generation involved. My first and most difficult question.
Okay.
What's your favorite fast food?
Fast food? We don't eat fast food.
That doesn't mean you don't have a favorite fast food, though.
No.
Not even like in your younger years?
Not really. I don't like where this is going.
Okay, next question. What is your favorite speaker overall? No bias.
That's easy. And I've said this on previous interviews. This is my favorite. I get asked all the time, what is the LRS Plus? It's not what most people would expect. Mm-hmm. We didn't really need an LRS Plus. We were heavily back ordered, which just made it worse. But I had the idea of what is look what has happened to our. I mean, it's the Amazon world now. It's click and ship. How do you make a purchase decision with no information? I mean, you live in Billings, Montana. You got a pair of really good B&W speakers or whatever, and you've heard about Magnepan, and you're not going to spend $6,000, $10,000, $20,000 on a better pair of speakers if you can't hear them. Mm-hmm. Problem started in the 1990s, and it's only gotten worse. You know, the dealers had to diversify into custom and home theater. You know, their love is still 2-channel, but they, by necessity, they've had to diversify. Then we had the pandemic, and wow. In the old days, you had a stereo store. I'm from Oregon, and you had a store in, of course, Portland. Mm-hmm. We had Bend, Oregon, Eugene, Oregon, Medford. Mm-hmm. We still have a dealer in Eugene, Oregon, but he had some beautiful sound rooms. He's had to downsize into a strip mall. And you know, Tim, sorry, the sound, as you know, the 30.7s, it didn't sound that great in your room. You know, so I took the 30.7s to his store in Eugene, and wasn't that great. Mm-hmm. So that's a problem that, Mark, you're going to have same problem. You'll go to visit some of our dealers. They've downsized. They don't have as good a sound room. This is the solution, I believe. this hypothetical customer that lives in Billings, Montana, and has the B&W speakers. Mark, suppose you were that customer. You're kind of new to Magnepan, but you've heard about us. So I'm going to send this secret weapon to you, and we're going to get on Zoom together, and I'm going to do what in the old days, what the dealer in Billings, Montana would do. He would have brought the pair of 3.7s and went over to your house if you were a qualified customer, and you would have got to hear them in your house. We're going to do that. When you get these, we'll get together on Zoom, and I set a dealer that's had an experience can look at your room via Zoom and make some suggestions where you should set them up with it in relationship to where you currently have your B&W speakers. So we listen, I'm watching you, we're listening together, and I'm watching your body language, and it's like, he likes them. Especially that last recording. You put on a rock record, and maybe you're not that impressed, but then you put on a vocal, and I can tell that you really liked it. So now we got something to work with. This will give you a taste of what a 3.7 or 20.7 can do. Now it's only a taste. It's only an appetizer. I mean, we didn't give away the farm here, but the resolution is high enough. With your amplifier, and you've got a good DAC, everything is top grade, you can hear what this can do. Whereas if you were just getting started, you had an inexpensive receiver, you probably wouldn't notice that much difference between even the MMG, which we started this concept in 1995, and the MMG was successful all those years. The LRS took it up another notch. In a larger room, the LRS is not, or the LRS Plus is not going to have adequate bass. And you understood that before I sent it to you. But I have a solution for that too. But I'm getting ahead of myself. So
we'll get there.
That was the long explanation for what is the LRS Plus.
I think you're getting warmed up.
I think you're getting more. We're getting there.
I feel strongly about this is because my generation had the ability, when we got into audio, every little town had a stereo store. And we had lots and lots of Magneplaner dealers. And we could listen, we could go there and listen hours, whatever we wanted. And that's all gone, and it's not coming back.
Now everybody's having to try to reinvent the wheel to come up with a new solution via the online transition and not having the physical brick and mortar stores.
Yeah.
And the young people not being as into two-channel as they are into earbuds or home theater these days.
So with an amplifier, if you can do a home trial, it's not that much hassle, but you're not going to get a chance to hear a 3-point. We can't. It's not practical to send the 3.7s to Mark, who lives in this hypothetical situation in Billings. But I can send this, and this has some characteristics of the big models. Not everything, but we hope we're going to get Mark hooked. That's the objective. Mm-hmm. And we've got a secret weapon on how to give him the bass if he wants deeper bass.
So what's the secret weapon?
Ah.
So Wendell came over to my house and he set up a speaker prototype, and basically he was very secretive about what he was setting up. He said he had something to show me. It was a surprise. He didn't give me any more information. He said you could make a video off of it. I was like, well, how am I supposed to make a video off of it if I don't know what you're going to show me or what to prepare for? And he comes in, and after we talk a little bit, he tells us his agenda basically is to go and plug in woofers to my audio system. and don't have any other speakers plugged up. Basically, unplug my 3.7 eyes and plug in these woofers, and we're just going to play sound through them. And that's kind of where things started, and you can take it from here and explain kind of what happened.
Well,
from that
I
point.
wanted to get, I didn't want to lead the witness. I didn't want to give you any information because I wanted your reaction because you know magneplaners, etc. You were kind of a market study, so I didn't really tell you. It's just that these are woofers, and we're going to hook it up to your. Take the 3.7s out and hook it up, and then we played it.
And I was like, are we just going to hear some subwoofer kind of tones, or what is it that he's got up his sleeve? And that wasn't what happened at all, so.
Well, what did...
I'm interviewing
you're supposed to give the market feedback.
Okay. So basically he hooked them up, and he started playing test tracks of stuff that was really specific to mid bass and lower bass, and I was like, okay, this is really showing me the oomph that I'm lacking from my 3.7 eyes, because I have either like a standing wave in my room, or just something really odd about my room that's causing a lack of bass frequency, just drop off at a certain point. So this was definitely a resolution to my problem, but it wasn't until he started playing a track that had orchestra and flutes that I didn't realize, well, why is a woofer playing songs that we would hear normally coming from a tweeter, or sounds that would come from a tweeter normally? And I thought, does he have like an LRS built into this woofer? What's going on here? And so I started getting really confused. And through the light, I could see there were cones in this contraption. And I was like, are we getting away from?
Contraption.
Are we getting away from?
I think they're
Are
quite
we getting
elegant.
away from the ribbons? What's going on here?
Yeah.
And so that's kind of what all ran through my mind. He told me, no, the whole point of showing you this, playing with these woofers in full range, is to show you basically how fast they react, just the reaction and how fast they play sounds, because a normal woofer or subwoofer could not play sounds that go that high in frequency, and this woofer could. And because of that, it was basically a proof of concept to prove just how quickly this woofer could react to lower tones. And he is calling it basically the world's fastest woofer.
It was interesting market feedback because you were confused. Well, both you and Jeremy was like, okay, what's the purpose of this?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like Mark, I don't know if you've heard it, but it's quite common when somebody goes in the chat room and says, my Maggies don't have enough bass. What woofer? I would like to get the XYZ woofer. And somebody will, no, those are too slow. So we are calling this ultra wideband bass system. We're not calling it subwoofer per se, because it will reproduce cymbals and orchestra. It has imaging, so ideally use two of them. You can place them wherever you got some latitude where you want to put them, and with DSP you fix time, phase, amplitude issues. Mm-hmm. So you were just a test to see, because you're knowledgeable, you were a test to see, okay, if I play a full rate, play an orchestra through subwoofer, what kind of reaction will I get? And confusion. You were obviously
occurred, definitely.
What's the point? Well, to me, it's intuitive. It's like you've got that kind of speed that you can reproduce cymbals and high frequencies, and it's linear, and it's got the dynamic range. It'll reproduce the bass. Can it keep up with the panel? Well, of course. Yeah, there's no problem. If it can reproduce the cymbals, it can reproduce, because it's only going to get used at the bass to augment you have some issues in your open floor plan in terms of reproduced bass, but it's going to stay in step with whatever it has to do to augment the 3.7s.
I think the funny thing was that he was just saying before we started doing this video that he had them plugged in and thought he had the LRS Plus speakers plugged in and confused himself.
I've done
That's
it.
how good they are.
I did it a couple of times in this already today, where it's like I started to demo. Oops, excuse me, that was the Woofer. I didn't tell him, but I was playing the Woofer. It didn't realize. It took me a little while to realize it wasn't the LRS. No, it doesn't have that. As you notice, it doesn't have the clarity of the ribbon tweeter or the 3.7 mid-range. But if you're not paying attention and you forget in the demo, it's like, oops.
But it's the fact that it can produce these sounds in general.
I don't know if this statement
amazing.
is correct. I mean, somebody will catch me on this, because full range electrostats are they would arguably be faster. If you like the big panels like the Sound Labs, that's a woofer, and that's very, very wide band. But it's just like magneplaners, they're huge to reproduce bass. Where this contraption, you call it, well, okay.
It is a contraption.
It's a dipole woofer that you can put anywhere. You can hide it if you want to call it a contraption. Hey, Jeremy, show the audience this contraption.
At this point in the video, there was some sort of audio issue, so I will further explain what Wendell was saying. His idea for this prototype was for the woofer to be couch height and be able to be hidden behind couches, underneath countertops, or just tucked away somewhere unseen. This would allow for the main speakers to get all the glory, so to speak, but also for the convenience of saving space in the room. These are dipole woofers with 8 cone drivers per woofer, making for 16 total drivers in a dual woofer configuration. More on these to come in later videos, as there are even more secrets to reveal about this prototype.